To the last minute.
Yes.
Just stare. They're becoming professionals at Zoom. Everybody's becoming an old professional.
Yeah, everyone.
They show up at the last second.
The student, Ajahn, every student, they have the Zoom. Student, they study from Zoom.
Yes. Yeah. They're starting to go to school on Zoom. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Wow.
So let's see, who else is there? Yeah. Oh, there's more. Oh, there's Mary.
Yeah, Mary.
I see Mary Stone.
Mary, yeah.
There's Mary.
Yeah.
And there's Dave, is it? I don't have them. Where's my glasses? In my shirt. I can't see.
You have to turn this one.
There's Shamina. Shamina is trying to connect. Thank you. See if I can see something. Oh yeah, there's Dave. Yeah, there's Dave. Oh, there's Mudita. Rosie.
Oh.
Yeah. Where's your doggy?
You know everyone.
I don't see your doggy. Hiran. Yeah. Oh, everybody's muted. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, đi cao đi Prasan, Yom Prasan. Okay.
Hello, Ajahn.
Hello.
Good morning.
Where are you? Good morning.
From Malaysia, Penang.
Oh, from Malaysia. Wow.
Hello. Hello.
Good morning.
Who's oh, I see. Okay, whoever speaks is surrounded by yellow.
Hello,พ่อ
Yeah.
หลวงพ่ออยู่ไหนเนี่ยไม่โชว์เดี๋ยวหลวงพ่อมีเสียงวันนี้มีเสียงแล้วหลวงพ่อดีครับอ๋อโทรศัพท์เหรอครับหลวงพ่อ
How are you, Ajahn?
Okay.
Oh, hello, Rosie.
ไม่เห็นหลวงพ่ออยู่ไหนหลวงพ่อเห็นรูปตัวเองไหมเห็นคนอื่นด้วยไหม
All these people.
ยังไม่เห็นเลยเหรอ
I don't know whether you've ever seen Zoom from my point of view.
There's all these little spoilers. Already get in, but he's not showing here. Oh yeah. นี่หลวงพ่ออยู่นี่นะ
Can you see?
Yes หลวงพ่อกำลัง connect อยู่
You can ask Long Po to speak, and then he will
Okay.
see him. Yeah, Long Po is in already. But Long Po no audio.
Okay, now we're going to start by the pay respect to the Triple Gem. It's leading by the Pratek Puttivite, our president of the Council of the Thai Bhikkhu. นิมนต์หลวงพ่อเลยครับ
Long Po no in on the video and the voice.
หลวงพ่อนำไหว้พระเลยครับหลวงพ่อ Oh, just a minute. มันยังconnect อยู่ไม่ได้ยินเสียง โอเค อะระหังสัมมาสัมพุทโธภะคะวะพุทธังภะคะวันตังอะภิวาเทสวากขาโตภะคะวะตาธัมโมธัมมังนามัสสามิ สุปฏิปันโนภะคะวะโตสาวกสังโฆสังฆังนะมามิ Good morning, good afternoon. In 1976, the most venerable สมเด็จพระพุทธโฆษาจารย์ and สมเด็จพระมหาธีราจารย์ another two สมเด็จ and พระราชมงคลรังสีพระอาจารย์โสบินนามโทและ and ครุฑสมบัติใหม่ this is a founder of the Council of the Thai Bhikkhu and the Council of Thai Bhikkhu right now we have the 114 the temple around the country and we have about 500 Dhamma around the country and the purpose of for the Council of the Thai Bhikkhu and to provide the meditation practice to provide the Buddhist learning. Every center, people come and learn the Buddhist. And to conduct the Dhamma talk every Sunday, every another day, we give a talk. And to publish the book, the textbook in Buddhism in English. And 44 years already, unbelievable. 44 years. We start with the 5 temples. When we start the Council of the Thai Bhikkhu, we start only 5 temples. The Thai Los Angeles 1, and Thai Klung Washington DC, Wachira Thamapatip, New York, and Puttawararam, Denver, and Thammaram in Chicago. That when we start the Buddhist temple in U.S. And now we have 114. And on behalf of the Council of the Thai Bhikkhu, I would like to thank Ajahn Sona I think everyone know that Ajahn Sona is popular. Is a popular, and the center is very, very deep in the forest. I have been one time. It take about 5 hours to get there, and you have no electric. Maybe you can mention for that, you know. And thank you for everyone to joining today for the Dhamma, Dhamma online. And our meeting will begin right now. Because of usually Luang Por, our president, to give a speech for a minute, but I think he had the technical problem. And Luang Por, can you hear me, Luang Por? No, maybe, yeah. And then today I invite Ajahn Playat. Playat is our staff, our monk in Tamayata Buddhist Monastery. Introduce the Ajahn Sona.
Ajahn Sona is a first wave, the Western Theravada ordained practitioner. After several years of practicing as a lay hermit, he took full monastic ordination at the first Theravada monastery in the United States in 1989. He trained as well in the Thai forest tradition and combined both Sri Lankan and Thai scholastic and meditative practice tradition with modern Western sensibilities. His pre-monastic education is in humanitarian and specifically classical Western music. These have been an aid in understanding the Western society and trying to achieve paradigm bridge between East and West. The monasteries which he has established in Canada are affiliated with the worldwide network of Western Thai forest tradition monasteries. At the junctures of contemplative Buddhism, he also is deeply interested in the ecological movements in these environmentally critical times, both at the practical and philosophical level. The monastery which he had developed over 20 years reflects a response to the psychological demands on the individual and is at the cutting edge of best practice in environmental fields. He has participated in the Greek monasticism movements, which is a collaboration with Catholic monasticism.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you. Thank you, Ajahn. Now we are lucky to have Ajahn Sona here today. Okay.
Shall I start?
Yes.
Okay. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. For those who are not familiar with that, that is the usual start to a Dhamma talk. I don't know who all I'm talking to. Some of the people I recognize, but we can only have a few people on the screen at a time. So anyway, I send my greetings to all of you who have joined this Zoom call today. And I will apologize in advance if our technology is less than perfect. We are broadcasting to you through a satellite because we are off-grid. We do not have cell reception. We are not connected to the electrical grid or anything. So we have to communicate through satellite. So I'm sure you have seen some rather painful technology Zoom conferences, but this may be the most painful that you have ever been in. On the other hand, maybe it'll work. I don't know. Anyway, that's my apology ahead of time for the technology. This is one of the sacrifices that we make in order to enjoy this very remote but wonderful nature. We live quite remote from people, any kind of buildings or cities, and we like that. We're willing to pay the price, and the price is that you have to generate your own electricity and you have to get everything through satellite. And this is, and drive up a very steep and bumpy logging road to get to this monastery. But we feel it's a good trade-off. We are willing to put up with that for the solitude. However, now technology seems to have overcome some of these barriers to us. So we will see in the future how this works out. We are connecting on a regular basis with the rest of the world. And I regularly make YouTube videos as well to allow people to hear the Dhamma talks that are given here. And if you want to refer to this, there is a YouTube channel, Ajahn Sona YouTube channel, and there's lots of talks. And so it's a new time in the world in terms of Buddhism. Ajahn Ritti mentioned that the Thai community in the United States has grown to 114 temples and perhaps 500 Thai monks or some monks in the United States, just as a basis for this Council of Thai Bhikkhus network. And of course, we have also a network as well, the Ajahn Chah Thai Forest Sangha has now 6 monasteries in North America, 3 in the U.S. and 3 in Canada. And so we are also growing, and we can see that not only is the Bhikkhu Sangha growing, but also the lay community. The community of lay practitioners are growing, and they're educating themselves in Dhamma and also in meditation. They're learning to practice meditation, and they're very keen and very fluent with some of the techniques. They come to the monastery, but now they can also practice at home. So I just gave a full retreat just a few weeks back on the 4 foundations of mindfulness, the Maha Satipatthana Sutta. So I gave 9 talks, 9 or 10 talks on this on YouTube, and with extra discussion by Ajahn Sudanto, who's the abbot of the Pacific Hermitage Retreat. And so we had 2 monasteries cooperating, and through the media, through the YouTube and Zoom and various things, we are trying to make this available to people during this pandemic. And in some ways, this pandemic has forced us to use media, and that may be the beginning of things. Our use of media and these Zoom conferences and our YouTube talks and so forth may not end when the pandemic ends, if it ever ends. There is no guarantee that the pandemic will ever end. Everybody wants to know, when is this going to be over? We don't know. Nobody knows. But in some ways, it has initiated something that's rather beneficial, and that is that we can communicate and without actually people traveling to the temple, the monastery, and they can benefit from this. And so we are getting a regular kind of audience, and the audience is worldwide. So the people who are watching right now, for some of you, perhaps it's midnight. For some of you, it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I understand that in Thailand, is anybody here from Thailand? Anybody on Zoom here from Thailand? It's 6 o'clock in the morning. It's a morning meeting, and then various time zones. But it's very beautiful that we're connected in many ways. So, we're just manipulating a little bit of our technical stuff in the background here. It's good for me. A little distraction is a good test of sati, some mindfulness. So you have to give your Dhamma talk while other things are playing around in the background. It's very good mindfulness practice. Sati sampajanya. So this is a good way to explain sati sampajanya. So sati is the narrow focus. Mindfulness is the narrow focus on a single area. And then sampajanya is the wider focus, keeping an idea on where your microphone is right now, and is everybody listening, and etc. What's going on in the background. So we get to this giving Dhamma talks on Zoom and YouTube and through microphones and video cameras is very good for the monk. The monk should benefit from this sati sampajanya. Mindfulness and clear comprehension of the surroundings. This is a good exercise for the monks. Normally speaking, we have to practice our sampajanya when we go on pindapat in the villages. We have to be mindful and keep our robes on, and because we're in public, now we have to do this through media. So we can make benefit from these situations as well. This, of course, in some ways, this is very beneficial for you at home because you don't even have to leave your home. And of course, this is important at this time in the pandemic. And it's easy to find a comfortable spot and listen to Dhamma. And at the same time, though, it is live. So you have a sense that there's a whole community out there. So there's many, many people watching this. I don't know how many right now, but there's people, well, even thousands watch some of the YouTube talks I give. Over time, more and more people watch it. So there's a large audience. And it's very enjoyable to see that they're from every area of the world as well. So anyway, this pandemic that we have is, the topic of this talk is equanimity or upekkha in the time of the pandemic. And this pandemic, by the way, I think we're going to all remember this for the rest of our lives. This is a very unusual time. They talk about a previous one 100 years ago. The Spanish flu came through and killed a lot of people around in a large portion of the world. But that was not the modern world we're living in now. This is very unique this has never occurred. The shutting down the gigantic infrastructure of the entire planet, all of the flights and the travel and all of the business and connecting, this is interrupting it in the modern times. Nothing like this has occurred. There are been wars, but none of them shut down this on this extent. Every single country is involved. And so, and we all, it affects everybody's lives as well. So this is the process. So we have to not make too many assumptions about how it's supposed to go or how it should go. And this is a lesson, because we don't know whether the pandemic for each of us is going to be a negative experience or a positive experience, or neither positive nor negative. We should not project that this is everybody is having a negative experience. And certainly it's clear that not everybody is having a positive experience, but the experience will be different for each one of us in this pandemic. So what advice can I give to everybody in this pandemic? What type of teaching from the Buddha? Actually, there are many, but one of them in particular is this practice called upekkha, which we translate in English as equanimity or balance. So a scale, a balance scale, adjusts, and we find the center, and we find stillness in the center. That's one kind of equanimity. And this type of equanimity we can find both in our meditation, but we need to take it around and carry it in the world, in our daily life. So we have to practice equanimity in motion, in activity, in conversation. So this is a very valuable thing. It is described as by the Buddha as the proper response to both success and failure, both praise and blame, both good fortune and bad fortune, both fame and obscurity. Do you see the teeter-totter? It swings back and forth. Sometimes you are well known, you have a large family, friends at work, then you move to a new town and nobody knows you. So that's fame and obscurity. Other times, everything's going well in your life, you have a good job, everything's succeeding, success. But other times things fall apart and failure. So we're in this time of the pandemic, we're going to see a lot of that. Probably more failure than success. But we can actually learn how to succeed in the midst of failure. It's possible to succeed while failing. So this is a good trick. Everybody should learn how to succeed when you're failing. Success in failing is this, that you do not fall into anxiety, worry, fear, interrupted sleep, all of these things, depression. If you, in the midst of failure, which is possible for anybody, every single person on this planet can fail. There's nobody immune to this. If we can keep a sense of balance and lightness, well-being, happiness in the midst of this, then we have succeeded. And that success is much greater success and much more important and reliable success than if we merely succeed in the material world, if we happen to get the good job, if we happen to invest right in the stock market, if we win the lottery, these are not reliable success. But equanimity, if we can find our balance and well-being in the midst of these ups and downs, then that is a lasting success. That will stay with you. So there are other types of, now there's illness and good health. And of course, everybody in this pandemic is exposed to this. Everybody has a potential for this. Notice that it seems that the people in the younger ages who don't have underlying health conditions have less to concern themselves with if they catch this virus. But old guys like me, they can die. And if the young person goes out and has fun and brings it back to my monastery and kills me, then it gets complicated. So we have to have restraint and concern for each other. We cannot ignore this, and nobody is immune from this. People think that it's not going to bother them. Well, it's true that some people it doesn't bother, so they get off lightly. Others, even if they're young and they don't seem to have any health problems, they have serious consequences, and it can be a very difficult, serious experience. And however, if in the midst of this, we have to have a realistic assessment that we are all subject to illness. And this is one of the reflections the Buddha gives as well, which is very good. And of course, lay people and monks and everybody needs to reflect on a daily basis the 5 subjects for frequent recollection. I am of the nature to get ill. I have not gone beyond illness. I am of the nature to age. I have not gone beyond aging. I am of the nature to die. I have not gone beyond dying. Everything I have, which is beloved and pleasing, will be taken from me. And in the last part, the last reflection is, whatever I do, whatever my karma is, whatever I do for good or for ill, of that I will inherit the results of that. So these are 5 subjects for frequent recollection. And if you have been doing this as a well-instructed disciple of the Buddha, and both monastics and lay people need to reflect on these on a regular basis, actually daily, or maybe even 3 or 4 times a day, then you will be somewhat prepared for this situation that the entire world finds itself in. I notice that as I read accounts of this, because as the abbot of the monastery, I have to keep informed about this. So I have to look at the New York Times, find out what is going on with this. I have to look at the BBC, what is going on in Europe, and what is going on in Canada, because I have to take responsibility for this community. I have to make a decision. Should we open or not? And as I look at this, I get to see the responses that people have to this. And there's all kinds of people saying how, they're talking as if something very unusual and is happening that shouldn't have happened. Well, we won't, that's a wrong attitude. What is happening now is absolutely had to happen. The conditions which cause this pandemic are just part of the modern world. They're part of both nature and our interference with nature. By the way, I want to just mention my biography was read out at the beginning there as when I was introduced, and it talked about that I was very interested in the environment and environmental things. And I want to say that this coronavirus is not separate from the changes that humans have made to the environment, and that promotes some of these new, these are called novel coronavirus. These are new viruses, and they are affected and mutate based on new things that we put into the environment. So we have to understand that these are the causes and conditions that are a part of the nature of the modern world. We get many advantages from this. We get to fly anywhere we want very quickly. We get industrial kind of agriculture, so everybody, lots of food, lots of gadgets, but there is a price to pay, and there is an effect on the environment. And then there are secondary consequences which we don't see, which are, in fact, this type of widespread virus as well. But is this a surprise? Should we be, are we just unlucky? Should we be frustrated by this? Should we think, darn, why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to the world? We shouldn't think that. There's nothing surprising about this. There are no surprises in this. If you're surprised by this, then you weren't doing your 5 subjects for frequent recollection: illness, aging, death, loss, and then responsibility. By the way, that last one, whatever I do, for good or for ill, that's my inheritance. And we are all responsible in some way, interacting with each other and with the environment. And if we act on the basis of greed and ignorance, or of course hostility as well, we get the consequences. Now you can see that this comes back to us right in front of us. We can see that we affect the environment, and the environment comes back and affects us. So this is part of our reflection, is we are responsible, and we have to make good choices, good decisions. And that's and when we reflect on this every day, this is how by the way, should we reflect in fear that I could get ill? The people I know could get ill. Should we be afraid of this? I will age. Is that a terrible thing? Should we be afraid of that? I can die. Should we be afraid of that? We're not supposed to reflect on these to generate fear. The Buddha is not asking us to learn how scary the life is. He's asking us to try to find an answer to this in the way we respond to this situation in the world, which reduces the suffering. So illness, aging, loss, death, loss, and responsibility are to be faced with equanimity and wisdom. And that last category also of the reflection is for good or for ill, that is my inheritance. So that's karma. So in the face of illness, aging, death, and loss, we have a great chance still to put in a lot of good causes, so that to do good. And that is what we should, in the face of the absolute fact, an unavoidable situation of illness, aging, loss, death, and loss, we must spend our time taking the opportunity to put good causes into the storehouse. We should do good actions. And of course, in the face of the pandemic, of course, one thing is to just be patient and to use this time wisely. Of course, here we are, all doing good. In the face of this pandemic, we're really doing wonderful things here. First of all, the Council of Thai Bhikkhus has decided to have this Dhamma Ally organization make a Zoom talk. It takes a lot of time. Everybody has to be brought in to help with all the technology. So here, I'm sitting here in this room with 2, 4, 6, another 6 people, and a lot of them have to help me get this thing set up and arrange this and run this monastery. So this situation, the pandemic, is also a great opportunity. It is a great opportunity to do good. And all of you who have joined me here today are also participating in this act of goodness. You're listening to Dhamma, and this Dhamma is particularly relevant to this time and this place. And you have all had to go and find your computer and get it all set up and figure out Zoom and all of this stuff. That action is a bit of it takes a bit of time and intention, but that is all towards a good act. And that act is to increase your understanding of Dhamma and to also participate, because by just participating in this, you are also helping the other people in the group. And you're also helping us here at the monastery, because we have a live audience which we are interacting with. Our monastery is closed. So normally this monastery has 1,000 visitors a year come through, streaming through, staying with us. We have about 25, we can accommodate about 25 people here. And all year round, year after year, we've been here 20 years, streams of people coming through, many thousands and thousands and thousands of people coming through, staying with us, learning Dhamma, teaching. We've never shut down before. Now we're shut down. So this also gives us a new way of looking at things, and has promoted us to think, now what is the good that we can do? So we have used this virtual reality, this videos and so forth. And then of course, we get contacted by other Buddhist groups. So this is why we call Dhamma Ally. These Dhamma Ally really means friend, Dhamma friend. We cooperate with each other, and we are most happy to cooperate with each other. So this is the opportunity. Out of a problem, we make a good results. So always in your life, there are so many opportunities to do the good. And that is your reward in the end, is this how many of these acts of goodness have you strung together? And in the midst of the inevitable illness, aging, death, and pandemics, then you will have a treasure. You will have the treasure of your own intentional, thoughtful, good deeds. And of course, it is, how do you even know what is a good thing to do? What's a good thought? What's a good thing to say? And what's a good thing to do? Now, I'm going to bring in the other side of this pandemic. You will see a lot of social unrest out there. Many people in the streets protesting this and that, and all kinds of things happening. And they are doing that because they think it's the right thing to do. On both sides of these issues, they all both think they're doing the right thing. But do they know what the right thing is? Because you get a hold of an idea and you act on this idea. Is it the right thing to do? I look back on my own past, what I thought was a great thing to do when I was young fellow, teenager, or in my 20s. Now I don't think it was all that skillful. It might have been very energizing, etc., but it may not have been skillful. So it's this Dhamma that we practice all the time, and hearing the reflections is how we learn what is the good. What is it that we should be doing? So I noticed that in the so part of this turmoil, social turmoil on the streets and turmoil in the economy, and also affects families because they're all trapped together. They cannot, they're trapped together, and many people, of course, losing their jobs at the same time. This creates all kinds of stress and a attempt to find an outlet. So this is where anybody who has Dhamma is a very great help to this. This is like oil poured on the water. You know, you can calm water, and fishermen do this sometimes on heavy waves and so forth, but you put a little bit of oil on it and it smooths everything over. Your own equanimity and your capacity to remain calm and your sense of what is the good, which you should have learned from many reflections on Dhamma, is a great contributing factor to how to produce some serenity and equanimity. So we need lots of people. So there's a saying, you know, I'm sure you've heard of the Titanic, this huge unsinkable ship that on its first voyage sank. Whenever humans say something is unsinkable, is indestructible, you can be guaranteed that it's not. So out in the middle of the North Atlantic, amongst the icebergs, this giant boat, which didn't have enough lifeboats on it, sank. Now, people got into the lifeboats. Who is the most important person in the lifeboat? You know who? It's the one who stays calm. Because some of those lifeboats, a lot of people got in and they were all excited. And because of the excitement, the lifeboat turned over. So we're all in this pandemic is Titanic going down. You are now on the Titanic. You might be on the upper deck, the middle deck, the lower deck. Doesn't matter. It's going down. So we have our little lifeboats, our little family lifeboats, our little community lifeboats. We have our video lifeboats here. We have our Zoom lifeboats. We have our Dhamma lifeboats. In this case, it's very important that people contribute to the stability of the situation by remaining calm. If people get excited, you see all over the streets, you see all kinds of people getting very excited. Their lifeboats are turning over. They're objecting to all kinds of things, but they're also giving each other the coronavirus at the same time. Is this how the lifeboat turns over? Yes, it is how the lifeboat turns over. So don't think that equanimity is abandoning or not contributing. Equanimity in thought, in speech, and in actions is a very great contribution to the stability with just one person, talking to one person, in your family, in your work, amongst your friends, and also in your Dhamma circles. The remaining balanced and serene and clear and with goodwill and doing good actions is the proper response to all of this. And if you get excited and you get carried away, you will be part of the reason why these lifeboats turn over. So I would like to I see that I have talked for something like 45 minutes now. Did you say that there is an opportunity for question and answers? Should we take up some questions and answers now?
Anyone want
Ajahn
to ask a question? You can writing on the chat, and then we can. Now we have any question now? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, everyone.
Good
So
morning.
first of all, Ajahn, can you mute your? Okay. We are testing technology here. Good. So first of all, I would like to welcome everyone. So I'm so excited to welcome more than 120 people joining the call today. We have people joining from Azerbaijan to Mexico to Singapore to Vancouver. So this is definitely a right topic in the time of, I call it the tumultuous time. So I think one of the questions that I've actually got is, in the time of this unprecedented time, we heard a lot about inequality, inequity, injustice. So these are the things that you see a lot of people are fighting for. And that seems to be the right thing to do. And absolutely, we need to make sure that we have equal rights to everyone. So the question is, how do we find that equanimity in the times that we've seen so much of injustices, inequity, and inequality? So that would be the question, Ajahn.
Yeah, well, that's very, very important. And that kind of thing is in our face now, because we have people have a lot of time to listen to the news, and they, of course, they are spending a lot of time on watching the media. And so these things like this in the United States, killing this man on the street, is a very personal act. You know, you see this happening right in front of you, and it's emotionally disturbing. And then, of course, it stays in, because the news cycle has to go on. They keep replaying it and replaying and replaying it, and then they have people talk about it and so forth. So part of it is, as I say, it's a result of having a lot of time on your hands. It turns out that that's our specialty. Monks, our specialty as monks is to have a lot of time on our hands. We're living kind of in quarantine all the time as monks. We're kind of in a quarantine. So we have to look out over the world, and we have to realize that, you know, this injustice that's taking place is not a new thing. This has taken place maybe in much more severe forms as long as human history has gone on. The Buddha is looking out over this vast sea of suffering. He sees animals being killed just for food. He sees humans being exploited for their labor. He sees wars happening. He sees conquests and power trips on people. He sees all this, and he says, I don't want you to be, my response is not to anger here. Anger does not fix this. And if you are angry about it, frustrated about it, depressed about it, you are now part of the problem. Now you're suffering too. So there's a lot of suffering going on. Do you need to add yours to it as well? No. You're like a doctor in a hospital where you got 100 patients. They're all sick. Should you take your mask off and get sick too? No, don't. Keep your mask on. You cannot afford to get sick. We need all of the people who can be doctors in this society. Doctors, not of medical health, doctors who are bringing the health of a good attitude to this situation. So how do we think about what to say to people in the midst of this? How do we come up with the right words? You don't try to figure out the words. You check your heart and you try to practice some metta. First of all, you just think everybody's in trouble. Everybody has a problem. Lots of suffering, including ourselves. May they not suffer. May they be well. May they be happy. Now we get our emotion in the right place. So we get our heart in the right place. And then once we get that there, then the words that come out of our mouth will be the right words. They'll be said at the right time, in the right tone. And that's how we respond to this injustice and violence and everything. And when we do it that way, we won't get burnt out. So you won't run out of battery power. You won't run out of juice. Because metta and equanimity don't hurt your system. And they energize you. And so you can keep on finding justice in the world. You can keep on finding charity and generosity and goodwill and helping others to find that as well. And you will never run out of energy. But it has to be at that good source. If you have it from anger, you will run out of energy. You will get depressed. You will give up. So that's the response. Eh?
Thank you, Ajahn. We have a question. I would like to ask Adil Babayev. He's from Azerbaijan. I think Adil wanted to ask Ajahn a question. So Adil, please unmute your audio and you can proceed.
Okay, so thank you. Can you hear me well?
I can hear you, yes.
Yes, we can hear.
All right. Ajahn, I would like to express my gratitude for procuring us this opportunity in the first place. So prior to this pandemic, I had primarily intellectual appreciation of the Buddhist teachings, and I would spend hours poring upon the Dhamma talks, Dhamma books, and listening to Dhamma talks. But this pandemic has provided me with the unique opportunity to put those teachings into practice. And I was wondering how we can possibly carry this calm and stillness that we've developed throughout this period into our daily life after the pandemic is over. Thank you.
Well, it is very nice to hear from Adil. I have seen his name come up, and he is from Azerbaijan, Baku, the city of Baku, Azerbaijan. And I bet you there's only a little handful of Buddhists in Baku, Azerbaijan. So he's a young man who has discovered Dhamma and is pursuing it. And it's so delightful to hear that there are people all over the world, and I always say it's the brightest and the sharpest. You see that they can see things from a long ways away. They can see all the way from Baku. They can see the Buddha. Anyway, you asked how can we continue this after the pandemic? Well, in some ways, as I said, metaphorically speaking, there's always a pandemic. There will always be a pandemic. So here's a little story from the Buddha. He goes to visit King Pasenadi, and he tests King Pasenadi on how he's coming along as his disciple. And this king he's a powerful king in India at the time, and he has taken up Dhamma. Now, he's another bright fellow who can see the Buddha from a long ways away. So the Buddha asks him, "O great king, if a messenger comes from the north and brings a message that a wall of mountains the size of the Himalayas is moving towards your kingdom and is crushing every living being in its path. None escape. And then a messenger from the south comes and tells you a similar message from the south. A mountain as high as the Himalayas is rolling towards the kingdom, crushing every living being. No one escapes. And to make matters worse, the same message comes from the east and finally from the west. O great king, you are surrounded. Mountains as high as the Himalayas are moving towards your kingdom, and there is no escape. Every living being is crushed in this. Now, that makes the pandemic sound pretty good, doesn't it, actually? It's a really dire situation. What will you do, O great king? You're the king. Save us. So he's testing the king, Pasenadi. And so Pasenadi, King Pasenadi, says to him, he shows that he is a good disciple. He says, Lord Buddha, this is what I would do. I would keep the precepts and do acts of generosity. That is what I would do. And so the Buddha says, just so, O great king, just so. This is the situation. The Himalayas, the Himalayas rolling towards us is the case, always. Illness, aging, death, loss. What can you do? You're surrounded. Every living being is surrounded on four sides by illness, aging, death, loss. It was at the beginning, it will be in the middle, it is in the end. What will you do? The fifth reflection. Do the good, don't do the evil. So you keep the precepts and you do acts of kindness and generosity. This you do in the face of the inevitable case of this. The pandemic has just brought it into our face. The pandemic is just a small version of what is always going on. It was this way before the pandemic, it's this way during the pandemic, and it'll still be this way after the pandemic. And your obligation is, having discovered Dhamma, is you put it in action by keeping your virtue. So the precepts are just another way of talking about virtue, sila, which is based on a good heart, a well-informed and good heart. And then you will just naturally do acts of generosity. So you will share, you will be concerned, you will be helpful, and in both speech and action. And that is how you will keep after this pandemic, so-called after the pandemic. There is no after this pandemic. The pandemic is always here with us. It always was, it always will be. People just are suddenly aware of it. It's in their face, but it's always the case. And the solution to it is always the same. We are virtuous and do acts of kindness in both speech and in action.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you, Ajahn, for the
Okay.
answer.
Yes.
We still have time for questions. So I think we have a couple of questions that the participants wanted to ask Ajahn.
Yes,
The question from these participants is, all of us have bank account. So this question relates to a different bank account, not the material bank account. As much as possible, we want to practice compassion and our metta. So there is a saying that you can't give love if you yourself don't have that emotional and love bank account that you can give someone. So the question is, how do we build this bank account of unconditional love, loving kindness, metta, and karuna?
Yes. Well, we have these words of the Buddha left behind we have the Metta Sutta, and we have various exercises. Monks often teach metta, and how do they teach metta? Well, they say a little formula: may I be well, happy, and peaceful. May you be well, happy, and peaceful. May all beings be well, happy, and peaceful. Then they say to the student, now you repeat that and you say this formula and then magic happens. No, it doesn't happen. That's too dry. That's not very imaginative. It's nice to know the words, but the Buddha, the Buddha gives you the indication of what metta is. And metta, loving kindness, is really a recognition that you are as others and others are as you. They fear pain. They fear death. You fear and tremble before violence and aggression, and you fear death. So you don't want anybody to make you, to injure you. And so you understand that's the way all beings feel. Even an insect feels like that. It's amazing. You know, you try to catch the mosquito, he's very, very careful not to get killed or injured. He doesn't like that. Or a cat, or a dog, or an elephant, or a human. All of us, we share something. You need to make this real to yourself, and you need to use your imagination and your memory. So instead of just saying formulas, may I be well, happy, and peaceful, well, maybe that works for somebody, but you gotta make the heart come alive with this. So that means that you have to go into your memories. When was a time of kindness and sharing and appreciation that you had in your life? Who was that with? Can you remember that? Can you bring that memory up? Can you remember that? A time of maybe your mother, your grandmother, your father, your grandfather, your brother, your sister, your friend. Who was that? Maybe it was your dog, your cat. Who was that? Bring that into your mind. Try to remember what that beautiful moment of friendship and concern and care and only goodwill towards you. Wanted to share. You want to feed them. You want to make them happy. And so that's your memory. And you can also do that with your imagination. All beings are like that. So now if your imagination's not so good, then you're going to have to read something which helps you understand this. There are some great works of literature that by great people who look into the minds and hearts of humans, and they explain to you how they feel and how it opens your heart, it warms your heart. So, read Charles Dickens about how children were treated in the 19th century in these factories. So you have Oliver Twist and all of these things. These are 8-year-old boys that are sent to work in factories. They were wandering the street with nobody to help them. Dickens looks into how it feels. He helps you generate this feeling of compassion, loving kindness. This helps your imagination. Now, in modern times, we have movies, we even have music, and it's all right. For lay people, if you need to make the heart move, you might need to listen to a song, watch a movie, read a book, listen to a Dhamma talk. I recommend Ajahn Sona's YouTube channel. Lots of talks on metta there. So we will help you. Ask others out there that are specialists in this to help you imagine and remember and to bring it into existence. Because once that feeling is one of the best feelings a human can ever have. Once you have that, you always want more. So it's not about dry formulas. It's not even about just reading the suttas. It's about bringing this in and making the music of loving kindness happen until you hear it. And then it's a beautiful, it's a quality of beauty. Art can help you, literature can help you, even music can help you. And Dhamma talks also, the sound of another's voice talking you in, bringing you into this. This is how you can cultivate this. And then don't worry about what you'll say or do afterwards. It'll always be in line with that good emotion of loving kindness. So you start with the heart, speech follows, action follows.
Thank you, Ajahn. Maybe we
Okay.
have one last question before we end. I think coming back to the topic about equanimity, it is about finding the right balance.
Yes.
As a layperson, it is very hard to remain that equal balance when we are being bombarded with so many negative news that are depressing, that cause the anxiety. So how do we continuously remain mindful during this time where we are able to maintain that equanimity? Because this is a very common question from a lot of people, is the depressed moment, is the anxiety. So how do we maintain that equanimity, especially during this moment that we have never faced this before? This is really a tumultuous time.
Yes. So this part of it is not to overexpose yourself to unskillful voices. And a part of the news, the job of the news team that makes news is to keep you as a viewer, and you are kept by drama. And there's another side to this, anxiety. The news and watching the news creates anxiety in people. And it's a very deep, and then you have advertisements connected to the news. Now it turns when you're anxious and worried, you want an outlet, and quite often you become a good shopper. An anxious person is a good customer. They like to buy things. It helps reduce the anxiety. So actually, merchants know this. Make you anxious, you're a good customer. So, a customer for beer, you're a customer for distractions, you're a customer for shopping just to clear your head, to get away from things. So that you understand, people are manipulating you by exposing you always to bad news and gripping drama. So your job is to take care of yourself. You have to be your own father, your own mother. And your mother is going to tell you, turn that off. That's only making you upset. Turn that off. So you watch less of this stuff because you're associating with people and opinions that are unwise. They're foolish, and they're very deliberately manipulating your emotions to make you feel, to create drama in you. So you need to stop that. And then, but what should you listen to? You should find sources of information that are not trying to make drama. They're simply sources of information. And you should even balance that, especially at this time when there's a lot of uncertainty in the world. You should balance that with the voice of wisdom. And that means the Dhamma voices. So listen to lots of Dhamma talks on Ajahn Sona's channel. And so, and after you listen to a Dhamma talk by me, you will not want to go shopping, I guarantee you. You will just want to pet your dog and say, thanks, Mom, for helping me. And can I share my food with you. So this is, you will know whether you had an encounter with wisdom is how you feel afterwards. If you feel stronger, if you feel kinder, if you feel clearer, that was an encounter with wisdom. If you were feel anxious, worried, confused, that was an encounter with folly, with foolishness. So that's how you take care of yourself. And you are the responsible for choosing what you're listening to and what you're watching. Yes.
Thank you, Ajahn. Thank you, Ajahn. I would like to hand over
Okay.
back to Ajahn Ritti for the closing remark.
Okay.
Thank you, Ajahn Sona. We very good talk, and we caring for many people today. I think the people about 122, Ajahn, that got a few people in and out. Maybe some another replace, maybe to 130, I think, about 130. And anyone want to contact the Bergen Forest Buddhist Monastery in Vancouver, BC, in BC. You can contact, and Dhamma Talk Sona channel is a lot of Dhamma Talk by Ajahn Sona. And before we start today, I didn't ask him. I said, for the future, maybe you can come back again. You can come back again. And thank you for anyone to comment and everyone to ask a question. Everyone to join today. And I think today we spent about 1 hour and 10 minutes. A very good time. Very good time. And thank you very much for everyone. And we're going to close right now by the pay respect to the triple gem again. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavatam Abhivademi Sawakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangham. Okay, anyone want to talk behind the microphone with Ajahn Sona? You can talk now. Anyone want to talk to Ajahn Sona?